Evening, guys. Thanks for joining us. I switched things out a little bit with my mic tonight. I got Michael last week asked me why am I not using my SH55, which is this one, but it's a rather bigger monster. This is the old traditional, the original one. It's a bit large, so I thought I'll switch out to my matte black. This is actually my personal talkback mic when I'm running front of house, or in the OB. This will be on a boom stand. This is my talkback mic, so I love this microphone. It's only my germs on it. So tonight I'm talking to TP, aka Chuck the Gangster, whose full name's Thompho Nyabane, if I pronounce that right. I'm going to switch over to him and say good evening. How's it, Teeps?
I'm good. How are you doing, Cristo?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for joining, man. I can see it's also a bit chilly there where you are with the beanies.
Yeah, you know, and even if it's like,
I'm sitting here with a jersey on in my garage. I'm very happy. I was just telling TP before we went on that next week I'm going to be in my studio. Air conditioning, good acoustics, good lighting, comfortable chair, good view. So it's going to be nice being back there with the curfew lifted.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, TP's been a champion follower of our talk show, and I think you've watched pretty much every episode. One of the few people.
Yeah.
And some of the common things that come up as questions and as comments, as young guys ask, how do I get into it? Where can I go study? What can I do here? What can I do there? Tips and tricks, which is great. And I try to bring something every week. But I thought, and I was thinking about TP. Now, me and TP go back to the first time I noticed him was in 2010. Which was the World Cup year. TP was actually part of my team. We did Talk GP did the broadcast for the kickoff concert. TP was still a student then at ASE. I might have probably lectured you once or twice in first year, I think.
Yes.
But he was one of those quiet guys, and what made me notice him initially is the fact that he just didn't go anywhere. He was just always there. Sometimes wondered how many days went before he changed clothes. He was just always on campus, always doing stuff. And I've said that before as well. It's about being willing to just put in the hours, put in the time, being in the right place all the time, getting exposure, don't stop learning, all that. So I'm going to ask TP to share a little bit of his story of how he got into it, and then we'll develop that, because obviously there's a couple of more elements to TP that I've come to know over the years. He's a very calm and collected guy, but he's become a very, very well respected lecturer at ASE now. I've actually handed over a lot of my live lectures to TP. He's my right hand man there. I don't think I can survive without him there. Well, I don't think I know I can't survive without him there. He's really strong in what he does. I've spent a lot of time just giving input and encouraging as much as I can, and so under my wing sounds a bit weird, but I mean, I have obviously, due to the relationship we have, we've worked very close together. Yeah. So just for the guys out there that don't know, how to get in it, or they think that you have to be able to do something to get into the industry, or you have to have done something to get into the industry before you get in. Just share a little bit about, the TP at 17 years old, 18 years old. Where was that guy?
So TP is this kid from Limpopo. From a very young age, I've always loved music. Like Cristo said, I've been quiet from a very, very young age, and my solitude, I've always been in music, but I didn't know anything about engineering. My love it's just something that moved me from back then. I remember when I was 15, I went to my parents and I told them that I want to drop out of school because I want to go do music. And of course, being from where I'm from, and you can see Cristo's face, my parents were like, nah, this is not happening. You have to finish your matric. And I was lucky because I finished my matric very, very early, because I started school very early. So when I finished 16, I went and did industrial electronics at a college, which I didn't really like, but my father He's an electrician, so he felt like if you do this, at least you have a backup plan, because they didn't really trust what I wanted
Backup
to
plan.
do.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
real
he was
job.
yeah, real job. So while I was there, I just kept on telling them, when I'm done with this, I'm gonna give you guys the certificate. I want to do sound engineering. And one day I was on the internet just looking at schools, and then Academy of Sound Engineering just popped up. And then I remember walking into Academy of Sound Engineering with my sister, and I knew from that day I was in the right place. I didn't want to leave.
Was that for an open day?
Nah, we just came through. It was open. What was funny was I came on a Monday, and the weekend they had an open day, so they invited me to. Yeah, so I was invited to the open day. So when I came through on a Saturday to the open day, they took us to a tour with their facilities. As soon as we walked into the first venue, I already knew, okay, cool, this is where I need to be. I even told my sister, if I could, I would stay here for now. I don't need to go home. Just leave me here. And then I went back to my parents. I told them, I think I found the place. I know I found the place. This is where I wanted to go. There was talks, and I didn't give them a chance, because I knew this. I have to make this work. This is what I wanted to do. And then from there, I walked into ASC 2009, my first year. I remember when you were giving me a lecture, an intro lecture, a live intro lecture. I was sitting there. I didn't have any technical expertise. I didn't know anything about sound engineering, to a point where when people were talking about monitors, I thought they were talking about a computer screen.
Yeah.
I was sitting there like, oh wait, am I in the right place? So two things happened that day. One thing was, either I could feel like I was in a place that I'm not supposed to be, because there were people who were really engaging with the lectures, who knew a little bit about everything that was being talked about, and there was me who didn't know. So my thing was, I never backed down from a challenge. I just told myself that, okay, cool, I have to start from a little bit further, but I'm gonna make sure that I catch up. And then from there, that's when the spirit of staying there happened. From that day, I just, whatever is happening, if you're cleaning a cable, I see somebody doing something, I'm gonna be there, because I want you to know. And after, I think, 3 months, I started realizing, oh, I actually have learned so much. So I just keep on doing this. And then I didn't want to wait for the lecture to come to me and actually give me the lecture. I will go and do it, make mistakes. And then when I come to the lecture, the light bulb will be going on. I didn't want to just go there to wait for information to be given. I was too excited. So I think from there, that's when I think the love just, I stayed at ASE, man. I think everybody just used to see me there. People would be like, see me in passages and be like, yo, you need to go home. Did you even eat? I'm like, don't worry about me. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And my parents were a little bit worried, because they didn't think that I was actually going to school. They didn't think, they just thought maybe I found a way to do something else. So I had to make sure that I'm actually learning, and I'm actually passing, and making sure that I can show to my parents that I'm actually going to
Just
school.
on that, if anybody from ASE is watching, I think TP was one of the first, and still in a very select group, that passed every single Pro Tools exam first time. Yeah, that's, and then I mean, and the pass rate when you were doing it was 90%.
Yeah, it was 90%.
Yeah.
Yes. For me was, I think one of the things that I took away a lot from you and a lot of people who were lecturing us at ASC was, you were not just talking about doing this, you were actually doing it. And when I remember when you did a mock lamp, the first time I saw Cristo actually work was when we do production where they showcase the students what we do. It used to be called a viewer live. And Cristo was behind the board. He was telling people what to do. And from that, just observing that, from that day, I was like, that's, I want to do that. I want to be able to do that. And I just wanted, so with Pro Tools and all of those things, it was a matter of, I had to sit with it and actually use it, not just go and study the book or just read the book for the exam. I was using the desks. I was sitting there whole night on Pro Tools and trying to figure it out. So for me, ASC was, I didn't treat it as like me going to school and waiting to be taught and people telling me this is how we're going to do. By the time I do the exam, I've probably done exams on myself so many times that by the time I get to the exam, I'm like, okay, cool. I was doing this last week. I was recording a band last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, yeah.
So, and I think in if you guys were, if anybody was at ASE when you were in second year, they would have thought you were one of the lecturers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
TP was he was talking about those V1 lives that we did, and we broke the student body up into groups, and it was basically a mock live production where all the elements are being done by the students, and we get real bands in, professional bands, so the standard and the pressure is on. And I think you were supposed to do one, and you ended up doing about 8.
yeah, I did all of them.
Yeah,
I went to
and you didn't take over. You were actually you were mentoring
no,
other students, and you were assisting.
yeah, yeah. It got to a point where I think even in my first year, 6 months down the line, when the V1 lives really started, I had second years when I was still a first year coming to me and be like, I would like you to come and help. I would like you to be just there. And
But you did that under
my
the
thing,
radar because we didn't see you then. You were like hiding.
yes, because the thing is, I didn't want to go in there and feel like I'm the guy, because I used to be scared that I would be told that I'm not supposed to be there, but I would just be there in the background. If I see a cable needs to be rolled, I will roll it and put it where it's supposed to be at and go where I'm supposed. I didn't want to be in the way. And when second years were recording, because now there's no lectures around, that's when I started doing a lot of things. So the facilities guys, whenever I used to go to the facilities guys and be like, I'm in the studio, they're recording drums, I need this, they'd be like, you're a first year, you know, so I'm like, nah, I'm helping them, don't worry. So they used to see me just carrying equipment for other second years. And it got to a point where the second years now, because I started seeing equipment with second years, I thought these guys knew exactly what was going on. And I walk into the studio and they're like, the studio's not working. I'm like, oh, I was here last week with the other guy. This is what happened. Just do that, and fix it. And then from there, I think, I was just too excited.
No, and I think as lecturers, a lot of students sometimes think we don't notice, and we do notice, because when we have meetings and we talk to the interns and we talk to other lecturers, certain students' names start popping up in conversation when we're talking about potential projects, when we're talking about opportunities. And I spoke about this opportunity that came around when I did that kickoff concert, and I think we had 15 students there from ASE. What was your group's name again? You and MJ
JFK.
and JFK.
Me. I don't even know how the name came about, but it just stuck with people. So it was like me, Paul, MJ that you had a conversation with. There was Vice, SMP were, and I think that was the main people. And then now guys. And then there will be, and then Pyro was first year, but he used to join us. Pyro used to, to be around a lot of us. But yeah, that was the people. And the thing is with all of us is, I think we met first year and we had a common passion and a goal for wanting to know, and we challenged each other. That was one of the biggest things, because whenever we had a studio booking, there would be the 5 of us, and the 5 of us wanted to know. So it actually made us learn more, because somebody will know something, Mpo will come up with something, and all of us just learn from there. So we created kind of like an environment for ourselves to learn from each other and actually motivate each other. So those are the.
So the MJ is talking about RF Junkies. Mpotswai, who's currently working at Redemption and also engineering for, I think, Shikana. He's engineered for AKA. He's done quite a few guys. So and it's just interesting to see how the paths develop. You've taken an interesting one. I mean, you were at ASE. You graduated easily. Then you worked as an intern for a couple of years, and then you went off and did your own thing for a while. I think that was about 2 or 3 years, eh?
Yeah, it was 2015, 2016. To be honest, it was, as much as it was me going to do my own thing. One thing that actually happened was, I think it's one thing that you always used to say in class. I think one of the first live lectures, that's when you talked about, it's not even about the technical, it's not even about, your knowledge, is just about you as your personality and making sure that your life is okay. I think this industry, if you're not in the right space of mind, this industry can kind of get to you, and if you don't know how to pull back. So in those years, a lot was happening in my life, and I started questioning a lot of things. So it was just a pullback, because I was starting to getting a little bit overwhelmed, because a lot of things was happening so quick and I didn't understand certain things. So yes, it helped me a lot going back, because I really wanted to focus in mixing. being understanding mixing, and then those 2 years kind of helped me with that. But the most biggest thing about those 2 years was just a lot of things happened in those 2 years, and I just felt like I wouldn't be good of service to anybody when I'm in this mental state, because I'm always going to drop the ball, and I've never been that person who, if I'm given a task to do, I want to drop the ball. So I want to always be at my A game. So I felt like a lot was happening in my life, so I needed to step back a little bit. It was not one of the most proudest decisions of my life, but it had to happen like that for me to be where
Look,
I
I
am
mean,
right now.
from our side, we were sad to see you go because you were becoming an integral part. But obviously, we encourage you to go and do whatever you needed to do. And then it was about 2 years, and then I needed someone, and I finally got hold of you, which wasn't an easy thing to do. And we had a meeting, and we got you back in. And since then, you've grown leaps and bounds. And it's just been great to see. And I like what you said about, you know, what we learn. The technical stuff is great, you know, and you have to be on your top of your game. You have to know how to perform when the pressure's on. But your life's got to be sorted out, you know, and you know, working 24/7, 8 days a week, you know, it can only go for so long. And then you're either going to physically fall over, or your relationship's going to fall over, or you lose your identity. You don't know who you are. You're no one outside of your work. You don't know how to function. You know, and when you came back, you didn't just two guys came back. TP came back and Chuck came back. Tell us a little bit about Chuck.
So Chuck was developed. So when I left, I had invested myself in. I had a laptop. I had an interface. I had myself a license, a Pro Tools license. So one of the things that I actually really wanted to do was just understand mixing, because you know, the technical information and everything. Mixing was one thing that really fascinated me from the get-go, and the artist was never something that I thought would be what it is now, because when I started, it was just me being on the microphone, understanding how vocals works. I felt like, because I didn't have a lot of people sending me sessions, I couldn't just sit there. So I was like, I have a microphone, let me record some stuff, see if I can make myself sound better, see if I can just, at least the list that I'm doing, it might not be much, but I can't just sit down and let my skill just go by without me doing anything. So I started recording the music, sharing it with people. Actually, people will hear me listening to it, and people like, oh, okay, cool. This is cool. Please send me that. Oh, where can I get that? Can I buy this? And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I just started recording. After a while of me doing that, when I looked at my hard drive, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I've actually recorded a lot of songs. I just started giving people songs, and then people just started, you know, engaging with the music. And then that was born. And then I was like, okay, cool. It's something that I can do. I have time to do it, and it actually forces me to actually think. And one thing about it is, the first time I actually did a live show and I was behind the microphone and I have to go through what an artist went through, it actually brought the excitement back of me being a live engineer, because I was like, oh, okay, now I understand a little bit more of what the artist feels like.
Other side of the fence.
Yeah, so I would say my life, I've always, in positions where I can't have experience, I've always used myself as an experiment. I've always tried to study myself and understand how I feel when I'm in certain positions. You know, so when I was behind the microphone and I was talking to the engineer, I was observing how I communicate with the engineer, so I can understand, okay, cool, this is the relationship, that if you have an engineer that's like this, that means things will go easier. Oh, you mustn't talk like this because this made me feel a little bit anxious. And okay, cool. So all of those things kind of, I was learning both of the side, because being behind the scenes, sometimes you don't really understand how like I was watching your talk and you were talking about just the artist, even the artist talking for themselves, you know, just it helped me a lot understanding how, if the artist is comfortable on stage, everything else become easier. So I kind of like used myself as an experiment, and I was really big into music law. So I kind of like use my music to kind of like maneuver and understand copyrights, because I was always, weird enough, I was probably one of the guys in Nick Mantukis' class getting the high marks, and I was a live guy, and people never used to understand, because I really liked copyright and I really like music and just understanding the record industry. Yeah, I think that's where that came from.
So I want to pick up on something you said there. Obviously, now that you've been on both sides of the mic. You know, you're engineering front of house. You're also on stage performing. So before you carry on, so your artist name is Chuck the Gangsta.
Yeah.
How many albums?
Albums I have officially 3
On iTunes.
on iTunes, and a lot of singles. Because for me, it got to a point where I was like, okay, cool, let me. Because I will play songs and people will be like, yeah, I want this song. So sometimes I just go on WhatsApp quickly and I'm just putting a song on the stage. And some people are like, where can I get the song? I'm like, okay, cool. I'll put it out for you guys so you can listen. So I have 3 official albums. I think the first one was really experimental. It was me looking for a sound I haven't found. And the thing is with me, I'm not scared to show people the process of me going from not being polished to me working on it and seeing the journey, because I feel like another thing that me as an artist I would like to do is for other people looking to be artists to learn from me, my mistakes and what I have done, and understand that a sound you work on it. It's not something that's just gonna come through, and having the confidence to be like, I would like for you to listen to something. So that's why I kind of like release the music. So I know that if you put in time, it's like a mix. If you do a mix, if you spend a whole year of you doing a mix, next year there's gonna be something that's gonna improve, because it's like a skill. It's like sports. You have to go in the field, you have to play, you have to practice.
Yeah. So based on that as well, your interaction with the students currently.
Yes.
How has your approach to teaching changed from your understanding from being on both sides of the mic?
It has drastically changed. My teaching most of the time, I would say.
To say quickly, the subject doesn't change. The subject matter stays the same. It's the delivery and the perspective.
Yeah, it's understanding how it feels from both sides. It's understanding what you would like, because now you know how would you like a monitor engineer as an artist, and you have been a monitor engineer, so you know how artists kind of react from it. And my teaching style has always been what you did with us, because when I attended your class, most of the time it starts from a conversation. It has to have context. You were not just coming in class and then start with, okay, cool, this is this is this. We have to build context, and then from the context you'll understand. I think that's why I got like a lot drawn to what you were doing, because for me it was like every day I go to class, even if you're doing the same concept, even if you're talking about the same thing, it's never the same. There's always something that you're gonna learn. And one thing that actually made me, it was like, you never stop learning. I will go to class today and you're talking about this, and then next week you come back to class and it's like, oh, okay, you remember what we were talking about, this happening, and that just kept me on my, okay, cool, I gotta keep on learning. Something new is always coming. I gotta keep on. Yeah. So for me, my style of teaching came from that, and just understanding, if I want to have a lot of context, I need to really do this a lot. I need to really work, because now I have been in so many scenarios where something went wrong. Now I can talk about it, because people just want to see something. The reason why I went to so many production was I wanted to make most of my mistakes there, because I was allowed to make mistakes. So I can make all of those mistakes. So if I go out and I'm faced with the same challenge, I've been in that situation where I can be calm. And that's one thing again that you told me was, if a problem happens, it doesn't help you just jumping and trying to fix the problem. Be calm and try to analyze. That will save you more time than you trying to just rush and fix the problem.
ABC.
And that came from ABC. We still talk about ABC. So that was something that I learned, and I kind of like adopted it in how I teach. That's why even now I always say I'm a student. That's why sometimes you will find me sitting with students, and some students first years will come through and be like, yeah, that guy's a student, I think it's a 30. Because sometimes my classes don't even happen in class. We'll be outside and there's a context. If context is raised, which is how you guys used to do it, we'll meet in the passage and you're talking about the gig that you did last week. And from there's so much information that you grasp, because I've understood that people, when they're comfortable, they teach better.
Yeah.
When you have, you teach better. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's something. So as a, obviously you've walked sort of, I wouldn't say a dream path, but I mean, you've walked the path from not knowing anything, having the eagerness, jumping in, figuring out nothing.
Yeah.
but having the right mindset to develop, put the work in, put the time in, and experimenting with stuff, and now you're in a position where you're a great mentor, and I've seen you with students. You communicate very well, and I think that's also from from a maturity point of view, I mean, you've just turned 30, so you've been doing this now for 11 years.
Yeah, 11 years.
Because you would have been first year 2009.
2009, yeah, second year 2010.
So and you said it yourself now, being comfortable. And one thing that also helps is you learn more by teaching than sitting in class. Sometimes, depending on the subject matter, and as a lecturer, you it's not learning the subject, it's learning how to communicate, it's learning how to change perspective, it's learning how to highlight elements, because when you've got a student in front of you and you can say something and move on, and you've left him behind, and then you're three bus stops away and he's still waiting for the taxi. It doesn't work, so it's learning how to read people, learning how to appreciate people's perspective, and taking the time to share that. And I think that's what makes a great mentor with students, because obviously we do lectures and then we have tutorial sessions, which are really mentoring sessions where you've got time to get to know the students, and spend time with them and develop relationships. I mean, you're in a fortunate position now where you're doing what I did to you. That sounds weird, but it's, and picking up on students and picking up on guys and developing and pushing them in the right directions, based on their questions and experiences. But it's a unique position to be in, and it's not like, and you said it yourself, it's not like, okay, now you know everything you can teach. You're still learning. I mean, I'm doing first year lectures online, and then I look at the attendees and I'm talking about basic stuff in first year, and there's TP. I'm like, hey, TP. And he's crashing my lectures, and I'm lecturing first years. We're talking about types of microphones, and then we talk about this, and then we talk about that. And then when the students go quiet, I'll ask him to ask a question, and he'll ask a question on the right subject matter, but obviously from a different perspective, which then gives me more input into how to answer the question, or say something I've been saying for the last half an hour, but just from a different direction. And I think that's also a sign of a great teacher. So from just, if I had a trumpet, I'll blow it for you. You're a great asset to ASE, and I appreciate that. And I think that it shows in the students' appreciation and respect of you as well. And it's well earned. So then if we come a little bit, I was going to ask people now. I see there's a question that's come through. But if you guys are watching, if you've got any questions for me or TP, please shout. Johan's busy watching the stream. He'll send the questions through for us. I have a question.
Yeah.
And us, we're not trained teachers. We're techies.
Yes.
We become trainers / call it lecturer, but we're trainers, mentors. And sometimes I don't know if it's just me, but you feel like you can just grab a guy and like get it in your head.
Yeah.
And you want to do that because you sit and you do lectures and you do mentoring classes and tutorials, and you see guys and they're not there. And then it's the same guys that are struggling in the exams, the same guys that are struggling in a practical. And it's like, but we went through this. What are your, or how do you feel that, or you want to motivate like a student body? If you could from your experience now over the last 11 years, what nuggets do you want to leave with guys? Like, guys, just get this one or two things and it'll just open up the doors for you.
I would say one thing for me is you gotta be inspired. You gotta be inspired and passion. I think with anything for me, I've realized that with even the students, if I find like a very, very student that's not paying attention or they're not there, sometimes just having a sit down and inspire them. It doesn't have to be what you're doing, but just making them see a different thing. I think that's one thing, to be honest. Let me just say this, maybe that you guys who did this, like you who have been doing it for long, because, it's the reason why I went to these classes and I was really sitting there and I was studying. It wasn't just because of the information that's being said. It was because of being inspired, As a lecturer, I learned from other lectures. That's why I still attend lectures now. It's the inspiration part of it, which comes with just being who you are. If you're a person who's born to share, I never thought I would lecture. When Cristo put me in the spot, I think he actually saw my face, like, you really want me to lecture? Like, I'm the quiet guy. I can show them what to do. I can't stay. But I had to learn that my style is, if I am inspired, it's easier for me to inspire somebody else, because I just do what I have to do, and then from there. So I get students who will come to my class maybe from first year or second year. They barely through made this first year. They pass, but they just feel like this is a drag, and then they get to second year, and I have a conversation. I'm like, what's actually dragging you down? They'd be like, I didn't think this is what it is, and my answer is always the same. You're already a sound engineer. You're already in here. The best thing you can do is get through this as quick as possible. Quitting is not even an option, or just not paying attention. And understand the privilege. Like I said, from where I came from, if I tell a lot of people what I did to be where I am and how I got into it, like Krista said, I didn't know anything. I was the least of the bottom when first class happened. So there's no student that can tell me now I'm feeling overwhelmed because other students know better. Just work hard. And you have people you can go to. You have people who are available to you all the time. You have people who are at the top of the industry. You know how it felt when I was sitting in an intro lecture and you were showing us the 4664, something that I watched on TV, and you were like, "Nah, I was doing that, and we were working on that," and you were so casual about it, which is something that you do. And from there, that's what inspired me. It's not even just what you were showing me, how you were talking about it. Like, this guy knows what he's doing, and he loves doing it.
Yeah,
It's that.
that one was 2007, and that was Erfurt Dominic, who's now lecturing with us. He takes his first and second years capturing. At that point, he wasn't involved at ASC at all, but we pulled in with a couple of students. I think it was Dylan was the one, and Andre. And it was we basically did the broadcast with SABC for that. So I did all the tech, and with students there running stuff, and then watching Erfurt do his thing. But it's and we've had over the years so many opportunities for students to get involved. If I just had to list a couple of stuff, but then I've had the opposite. I've done events where it's always difficult to invite students to an event if I'm a supplier and I don't have control, because obviously logistics is important, security, health and safety, all that. So I can't just anybody come. But if it's my event and I can speak to production, which I've done, and I say, listen, can I have a group of students come around, check out the setup, ask some questions, not on a show day, maybe on another day, and sometimes even as crew. But I've done events and I put an invite out, and then not one student pitches up.
Yeah.
It was like,
even now it still happens. It's the same thing I was talking about, opportunity. I never had the opportunity. I remember when you walked into class and you said, I think it was our third live class, and that was my first professional gig. And you were like, I need to send someone to a gig. There was a recording of Kefa Siminya at Carnival City, if I'm not mistaken. Let's do a pop quiz. And it was a pop quiz on the venue console on the profile. And I've been playing with that desk every day from the first day we walked in there. So I knew, okay, cool. The only people I have to look out for is the people in JFK. I have to do this show. I got 10 out of 10 for that pop quiz. And you actually sent me to the gig, my first official gig. And I keep on telling people that opportunities, you just got to be prepared. Opportunities are all over the place.
Yeah.
It's not you. You just got to make sure that when it comes, you're not going to disappoint. I went to that, first weeks of second year to that recording, and I knew what I knew. I knew what was expected from me. I knew if I didn't know anything, I have the right to ask. As long as I'm asking the right question. That's one thing, again, that was told the first day. Don't be scared to ask as long as you're asking the right question. And once you bring up a problem, you need already, as an engineer, if you want to call yourself an engineer, you need to have a solution. You need to be solution driven. You don't, if your solution, that was first basis. And from my first show, that was like the basis for all of the shows that I've done. And still, even now, I'm still the same basics apply all the time.
So here's a question. In that same year, 2010, how did it feel to stand on stage with Paul Simon?
Oh, wow. Actually, 2010, 2011, those years were the craziest, because being on the 2010 kickoff concert was even crazier, because I remember, I think a week we pulled up in F&B. We're doing everything in F&B, and we'll go home and we'll come back early in the morning. I used to go home. That was first time I was going home 3 o'clock. Yeah, Orlando. Yes, I was going home 3 o'clock. I was coming back in the morning, and then 4 I'm back out. I wasn't even sleeping because I couldn't sleep because I thought maybe I'm gonna oversleep and not have time to go to the show. So I wasn't gonna sleep. I think there was once even I even asked, can I actually sleep under the truck somewhere here? You guys are gonna wake me up when you come back. They didn't want me to do that, but it's those things. It's those things that I keep on telling people, like those opportunities. When I look at them now, I was looking at the picture. It's when I was in the moment, it felt really good. But now when I actually look at it, it really, really feels good that I got these opportunities, and you're still giving out those opportunities because you have given me some. I've found myself in SABC eating, and I'm minding my own business. Here I'm the techie. I'm thinking about going to tape down cables. I'm eating quick so that I can go back. This is lunch. When everybody's still eating, I'm gonna go fix what I have to fix. And I'm finding people with Grammy awards sitting on my left and on my right, and they having a conversation with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they talking about stories about when they had the Grammys. I'm just in the middle, and they start looking. I'm like, Grammys? Who are these people? And there is Paul Simon and the leader of Ladysmith, Black Mambazo, just sitting there, and I'm like, wow. So from those moments for me, it's one thing that I appreciate a lot. And those opportunities, ASC made that possible. You made that possible for me. And you always give us these opportunities each and every year. For the past 10 years I've been at ASC, I've seen those opportunities come. And still now I encourage students to take those, even though sometimes the students don't really take that. You have to work hard. You have to put in your. It's not even about. I wasn't even thinking about the money. I was just happy to be there. I'm just happy to be working, to be learning. Krista has been doing this for close to. He started doing this professionally when I was 2. He's still doing it and learning, And I'm looking at myself. I'm like, I'm still, I still have to really work hard. I still have to go out there and work. And for me, it's just the motivation. I love doing this, and it's just been one of them.
Yeah. So just on those things, I mean, you were just saying it now. You're getting opportunities to go on gigs, but it's not to go and engineer the gig. It's not to go and be a recording engineer. It's not to, you've heard me say this in class as well. Just pitch up. Once you're there, that's when the opportunity actually starts.
Because you never know who's looking. That's the thing which I noticed with me was I was never. Maybe it's because my generation, there was cell phones and there was this world we're living in, but I was never a person when, if I do what I have to do, if I offload the drug and that's what they want me to do, and we do the stage and it's time for Cristo to actually go in and mix, I'm not sitting somewhere very far having a conversation that has nothing to do with what's going on. I'm standing there looking at what he's doing, how is he mixing, how is he interacting with these things, because for me that's an opportunity to learn. I'm not getting only satisfied by just going there, doing what I have to do and think, okay, cool, I have to sit down. There's so much to learn. I will talk to guys about just stage. I'll find somebody just beside the stage and be like, oh, do you have time to chat? What did you guys do that? What did you guys do that for? What happened there, and you find an opportunity. You don't want to be the person who's just overwhelming people. People who meet me a lot, they'll be like, you look like somebody who doesn't ask questions. I do ask questions, but I just observe a lot. I observe a lot. By the time I ask a question, I've analyzed that situation, observed, because you got to understand these people are actually working. You don't want to be going there and overlooking. Oh, so why did you do that to the cake? As an engineer, sometimes you just have to sit there and observe. If you can't get to a point and you still don't understand, that's when you're going to ask a question and find the perfect time to ask a question. I think for me, the observation and just being in these places and learning from all of those people was one of the most important things.
Yeah, and it comes back to being in the right place all the time. Like Tim Kraft says, and recognizing an opportunity is not about what can I get out of it. If that's what you go in, and unfortunately these days, what freaks me out with a lot of youngsters. And I say this, and if you get offended, it's your problem. If I give you an opportunity and the first thing in your mind is how much am I going to get paid, if you're still a student and you're not doing anything, you shouldn't say no to anything. I mean, with TP, I think all the opportunities I gave you, I ended up paying you for some of them.
It was a surprise.
But it wasn't. It was never discussed. It wasn't an upfront discussion or anything like that. It was, here's an opportunity. But the minute I start putting responsibility on your shoulders and you're proving your worth, I'm going to reward you for that. I'm not going to abuse the situation. But if you're there and 99% of your time is just spent observing and learning, that is a massive input into your system. So, and I think if you remember most of those events as well, when I bring students in, I'm not replacing crew.
Yeah.
I've still got
Yes,
crew
sir.
there. I'm still working the gig, and then the students come in as extra hands,
Yeah.
extra muscle, you know, and we've got more crew than what we need, but it's the students that are getting opportunity to learn, and that's also the case where when you start noticing there's less of my staff around and you're getting more responsibility, that means you're proving your worth, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I mean that goes in any scenario. I saw a comment here from Freed. Um,
Yeah.
I'm going to take Freed up on that one. I was actually talking about to Adrian the other day. I want to chat to Freed on air because he's very involved. I'm distracted now by his comment because he's obviously from a theatre perspective with Split Beam and just his background. Because there's a massive opportunity there as well. Our industry is extremely diverse. I mean, we were talking primarily live events now, but I mean the range of involvement that guys can get into. I had a question the other night, about, so what's going to happen to our industry? So at the moment, our industry, depends on your perspective. Live events is a problem because there's no gatherings. Broadcast is happening, podcast is happening, post-production is happening. There's quite a few elements that are happening. Obviously, next week with businesses opening, some corporate stuff will start working, installs, all this kind of stuff. So opportunities are around the corner. You just have to broaden your perspective and your horizon. But the foundation of it is pretty much the same, and then you focus on an expertise that you feel like you want, that you get drawn into. So just check if you got any actual questions. Got some comments. Masabo says, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, he says basically since he was a first year in 2018, you and Anderson took him under your wing, and he's really been appreciated. It's changed his life, so that's great.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
So I think I don't want to hop on the same thing over and over, but I mean I've spoken about this. You mentioned it again tonight. Communication is key. Context is key. And being in context, and you said it now yourself. The cell phone is a distraction. So you're there, you're physically there, but you're not there, and you miss opportunities to learn, to observe. If you're an assistant on a gig or in a studio or at a theater or at a church or wherever, just by observing the people that you're assisting, you can learn a lot. There's guys that will pay a lot of money to be an apprentice next to certain people, but that means you've got nothing in your hands. You're focusing on the gig. And the person that's operating doesn't have the time to stop mid whatever he's doing always and turn around and talk to you. It's up to you to grab the information and get involved. So from that perspective, I think that's really key.
Yeah, it's always for me opportunities. Like you were saying with the young ones that are coming. I never thought I would say this, but yeah, with the
young ones,
with the young ones that are coming. I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but like you were saying, the monetary issue, it's a big one. But again, everything, like I was saying when I was saying my 2 years when I left, it felt like I was building a skyscraper on a shack foundation. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. It's like a balancing act.
Yeah, it's like a balancing act, and it doesn't work like that. You gotta make sure that your foundation, if you want to build something that you can look at and actually see that this is gonna work out and it's gonna sustain time, you have to do your groundwork. And that's when nobody's seeing you. That's when you're sleeping under desks. That's when you're asking questions. That's when you're working hard. And the thing for me was, I was young, there was nothing for me to lose at the time. Even now, I can still do it, but at the time it was required for me to do it. So I don't understand why. Because if I'm not in class and I'm actually at a show, that's the biggest class you will ever get. And that opportunity there's so many people who want to get that opportunity. You got to understand. And for me, I wasn't even thinking about it. A lot of people are just thinking, I was just looking at everybody who was at ASC because I knew for you to be at ASC, there's some level of passion that you have somewhere. It might not be that big passion, but there's some. So I used to take that and be like, if I get an opportunity out of all of these people, I need to make sure that even if you don't give me money, just being there and learning. So I've been in so many situations where I learned so much. ASC taught me so much, and the reason why I like production was you could learn from exactly doing what you want to do. You can make the mistakes, and one thing about it is it builds your confidence. I think in this industry, one thing, the biggest thing is confidence, and confidence comes from you knowing that you know something because you have done your research, you have done your
Yeah.
work. You're not going to be confident if you know that you didn't do the work. So the only time confidence comes through, I walk in sometimes in production and students, and I just stand on stage, and already by just looking around, I can be like, okay, cool, we're going to have a long day today. Because I've done it so many times.
Yeah, you're copying me now.
Yeah, because that's how it was. Because I used to see you come to, and I will ask myself how you do it. And for me, the one thing was just this guy does this all the time. He knows. He knows
You
that.
just observe, yeah.
Yeah, even people, you can start seeing, okay, cool. I have to look. After I give you a task, I have to go back and look what you did because I can see from the way you're actually communicating with me. You don't want to tell me that you don't know what you're doing. You don't want to ask a question. You're just gonna do it and make a mistake, and then rather wait for us to fix it. Then you start seeing all of these things.
Mm. So there's a comment here from Paul asking, what would you advise people to have a teachable attitude and a willingness to learn? Not arrive with a I have arrived attitude. And I think an I have arrived attitude, that's a stumbling block for many people. I've said this in class. I've said it to many guys.
Yeah.
I can teach anybody a skill, but I can't teach you an understanding. You have to grasp it. I can explain something, and vice versa. If someone has an understanding and a passion for anything, they will pick up the skill so quickly because they're in it. Whereas people, you want to train them a skill, and next week that's lost because it had no foundation. And the foundation is the understanding and that willingness to take ownership of the moment. And if a guy has an attitude, we can call it a chip on his shoulder. A lot of times it's just from insecurity. Guys are embarrassed. They don't want to be shown up or anything like that. And that's when, and sometimes it just comes to have a good comment with them, have a good conversation, out of a crowd, But at the end of the day, people have to make up their own minds, and I've seen this many times where, you see potential in a person so much, and if you can just drop the attitude, and the attitude is not. It's not about trying to make the guy like me. I'm not trying to turn everybody into a Cristo. You're not trying to turn everybody into a TP, but you need to understand the context of what you're working within or what you're trying to achieve. And unless you open yourself up to learn and understand certain things, you might still learn everything. It's going to take longer. And I look at the speed that because you were so open and so eager and willing and quiet in the corner and doing everything, your growth curve, that logarithmic curve went quick.
People don't, just on that for people, because the one thing that I've realized from students, what you're talking about, if you don't have that, if you have the I'm here kind of like attitude, people stop giving you information because you think you get to a point where, if you're sitting in a class and somebody's giving their time to teach you and actually give you experience and willing to give you what information they have, I don't care if you paid for the education. I don't care how the education is coming to you. You just gotta respect it. Sometimes people are pressured by a lot of things. Some people it's a confident thing. Some people, but one thing that I've learned, you gotta respect everybody. It doesn't matter who it is. The security guard at the gate, the lady cleaning coming to clean. You gotta greet her. You gotta respect. From the people who see a lot of it's more. I've seen technical, like Cristo said. I've seen technical people who are really really good at what they do, but you just don't want to work with them because you can't be in that environment. And being negative, never allowing to be around a situation that's negative. If you have to be that guy when people are being negative and telling everybody, yo, I don't want to be in this environment. Because I used to step away from conversations. Even when I was a student, there will be conversations where I feel like I don't need to be part of this conversation. I'll walk away. Some people didn't like me for that, but I'm not there to be liked by those kind of people because I don't want to be in that
Yeah.
situation. It's a self-respect kind of thing. You got to respect yourself at the end of the day. You don't want to be the person that nobody wants to work with. And then I feel like if you're a sound engineer and you really love what you're doing, even because the thing is for me, like I said, I didn't take it as cool. When I was sitting in class, I was sitting amongst other sound engineers. So I had to respect. I can't speak in class when the lecturer is speaking because everybody else is listening. Even if it's not of interest for me, I just gotta respect them because I would like to be respected too. So for me, it's like you gotta respect yourself, respect what you're trying. It's your career, so if you really wanna do it, you gotta learn from people who have been doing it and be there and listen and always don't be scared because people are scared to look a certain way. You wanna look cool to the other students because you don't wanna ask a question. I don't do that. Nah, I'm not gonna get paid. I'm not gonna go work on a gig because they're not paying or they're paying peanuts. If you can make that money, cool. Go make the money. Why did you come and wanna do? We don't do it for the money. We love it. We gonna go and do it. We love it. The money comes as reward. It's cool to have money. We need to buy bread, but for me, the love comes first. If I'm getting the opportunity,
a fruit of your labor will be the finance.
Yeah.
The finance is not doesn't create the fruit. There's a comment here from Hans, just giving us a great crew to work with. Hans is in Pretoria. I worked with him quite a few times, and he's also got students working with him. I've been around this country many times, and at festivals, at venues, at churches, at different companies. The amount of, because ASE has been going for a lot of years now, and the fruits that we've borne in students have been great. And it's very motivational for me to, I'm in PE or I'm in Cape Town or I'm in Durban or whatever, and pops up a guy, and he'll greet me by my name. I'm like, who are you? I don't remember. I'm very bad with names. But I'll recognize the guy and I'm thinking I either worked with him or whatever. It's, no, I was an ASE student. I was an ASE student. I was like, and it is very, very encouraging for me. Because that's why we teach guys. We're giving you an opportunity. When you leave ASE, the first mistake you can make is think you know everything. When you leave ASE or any educational institution, they've given you a foundation that you can now work on and start growing your career on and keep learning. I mean, I'm definitely still learning. Technology is changing a lot. I try new things all the time. And it's about developing my own skill. I've got the responsibility to myself to do that.
Yes.
And then the benefit to my clients because I'm doing that. That's automatic. I don't learn how to do certain things so that I can impress my clients. If anybody, I need to impress myself first. I need to be confident. And then I use a skill set in a creative way, which clients then benefit from. And that's obviously, that has a perpetual effect where clients are happy, everybody's happy, you get paid, you can make a career out of it. But it just stems from that willingness to learn, willingness to keep growing, and also from teaching. I love teaching, I love mentoring, and every time I have an opportunity to teach or mentor, I learn something. Either in the style of communication or sometimes I'm demonstrating a piece of gear and then I see it from a different perspective because I've got to change my communication style for someone. And then like, oh, that's quite cool in my head because I'm figuring out stuff about, oh, I can do this, or I've got a new workflow, or that. And you keep developing, you keep learning, So that's a real inspiration to me, seeing how the students have, well, they're not students anymore. They, I'm not going to mention names now because there's a lot of them. There's quite a few. We often get asked at ASE, well, where's all these guys going to go? The industry's tiny. It's like, no, the industry's not tiny. It's massive. If you think about all the avenues that they can explore, it's a big industry.
It's way big.
Okay, sure. It's an hour already. Time flies. And I said we're not going to be long tonight. Sorry about that. But I mean, from my side, just thank you. Appreciate it. Keep doing your thing. Keep inspiring. I mean, I often have conversations with current students and staff and just, very inspired and motivated by seeing your progress. And it's not like you've made it.
Still working on it.
Check MJ's comment. MJ's like, I'd like to work with both of you on the same gig one day. You did, MJ, in 2010.
He wants another one.
He wants another one, yeah.
He wants another one.
But it's great, and very inspiring. And I think keep doing what you're doing. What's your albums called on iTunes? How can people go listen to your stuff?
My album, I have Prince of Mutapa, Mapungu, Bia, and Vembe. That's like where I'm from, commemorating where I'm from. It's available on all of the platforms and some singles out there. But yeah, you can go to my website www.checkthegangster.com, .co.za, sorry, and then you can find everything there. But with that being said, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, if it wasn't for people like Cristo and ASC, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And I really appreciate you willing to share so much information. Like I said, you were saying I was crashing your class. Because for me, every time when I have a conversation with you, I'm going to always learn. So I really, really appreciate the fact that you here and mentoring me and giving me those opportunities. I mean, the first time I went out of South Africa was because of you when I went to Zambia for the presidential election. Another whole story for another
Oh
day.
yeah, I
But
forgot about that.
yeah, but all of the opportunities that I can count on and everything that I'm doing now in my own all stems from you mentoring me and believing in me, and all of the family from ASC believing in me, and yeah, just being motivated, and all my friends. And you know,
Cool, man.
it's always good to have.
There's a last question from Cabello. TP, would you say your studio life contributes to your live mixing?
Yeah, because now the approach that I have from studio, it's not that my mixing style changed. I understand more because when you are in the studio, you can play with things a little bit more. So it kind of like makes me quick when I go live, because now I don't have to really, because it's like practice. It's like practice for me. So I can sit in the studio.
It's like a jam session for a game.
Yeah, I can.
Not that I'm calling studio live jam
Yeah.
sessions and not the real world, but yeah.
Yeah, you from our perspective, they will understand. So for me, it's like it really plays a part, because I can sit down and actually. That's what I was saying. Is you gotta learn your tools. You gotta understand what you have.
Yeah.
So that gives me an opportunity to do that.
Cool, man. Well,
Cool,
thank you for joining me tonight.
It's a pleasure.
Well, sorry for those people. He's a rapper, so there's a bit jittery in the picture there every now and again. But yeah, I look forward to it. I'll have another opportunity again, and then just keep inspiring the students, keep doing your thing, and we'll see you at the next one. Thanks for your questions, guys. If we didn't get your questions or comments, I'll go through it online, and then I see there's a link in the chat there Johan's put in for us to get hold of TP stuff.
Cool.
So go click on that and have a listen and get inspired.
Yeah, and if you want to talk,